Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am Recovery Addicts. Today we have Darrin Lopez in the closing arguments of the trial. And I realize it's the closing arguments of the trial. You're wondering why? Oh my goodness, this is a train wreck. We have closing arguments in the Texas v. Darrin Lopez trial. We want to get to that as soon as trial starts. It's about to start. We have just moments into that. It's going to be spicy today, but we're also going to be on verdict watch, I think, before lunchtime. That's my call. Anyway, let's get this thing rolling.
Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy, do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy. The dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case.
Dati mihi Anglican priest, servants Latino.
All right, so we just have one small problem in all this. I left everything turned off last night to let it cool down just a little bit. All the equipment we needed to cool down, and now I cannot hear court, which wouldn't be a problem if it weren't for the fact that Judge is taking his bench right now. You guys can hear court. I can't. Is that an issue? I don't know. You guys will just have to keep me updated and chat with what's going on. Let's see here. Let's try to make sure we've got audio. I'm seeing the audio levels there. Let's really down this one right here.
Are there any objections to the charge other than has already been made known to the court?
No.
Okay. And is there any reason why we can't bring the jurors in? I think you need to rest still.
Yes.
Are you going to call any rebuttal?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So both sides will rest. We'll go straight into arguments. Same order as you all told me yesterday. Anything changed?
No, Judge.
What about from y'all?
We're good, Judge.
You want me to keep talking to you, or you want to work on your arguments?
You can keep talking. That'd be great.
Okay, we're trying to get everything working here. Give us just a minute.
Call the jury.
Judge, can I just make sure that Assistant Director wants?
Sure.
Ooh, he's wearing a suit jacket today. Looking spiffy. Okay, we need to we'll get this figured out.
Yeah.
We're trying to get those commands working as well. Got to go and plug it one second.
Let's give it a test run real quick. Is this our test run?
Ready to get it up at all?
Frodo back there sees something very interesting in the court. Keeps looking around left to right, looking for somebody.
No, but it's...
Okay, I think you're able to take a seat now. Please, everyone, please be seated. I don't know who to give the internet to, honestly. I opened this live stream a long time ago, about 3:30 when I got up this morning, and I don't know who was first. So we might have to split the responsibilities evenly between everyone. It was Britta. Okay, Britta, let's throw her under the bus. Britta, this is all you. Thank you so much for being first in chat. This is going to be a big day as we have closing statements in this case. It's going to be probably spicy when it comes to the prosecution. We may have to mute, which will be a little bit tricky because I can't hear court. I don't know what to mute.
Is that you?
Oh, it's going to be great.
Hey, Judy. So she was a judge for Halloween. Isn't it cute?
Should I be offended at that? This one is not on.
I'm going to be cat lawyer.
Well, all right, make them black while I'm reading the directions, instructions. And Sheriff, call the jury.
All rise.
Looks like the jury is finally coming in.
Thank you, Sheriff. Y'all may be seated. Mr. Sanchez, what says the defense this morning?
All right, this time we would rest.
And the state?
State closes.
Defense. Very good. Y'all may be seated. Members of the jury, both sides have rested and closed their cases, which means you have heard all of the evidence that you're going to hear. As you may recall, the next order of business is that I'm going to give to you the jury charge. The law says that I have to do that in a certain way. Number one, it's written down, and you will have it with you during the deliberation room, so please don't think that you have to memorize it. But second, the law requires that I read it out loud, and I'll do the best I can to be as efficient as I can. It's about 10 pages long. After I read it, you will hear arguments from these excellent lawyers. It's my understanding the state is going to open, Ms. Paver will open on behalf of the state, followed by Mr. Duke and Mr. Sanchez on behalf of the defense. And because they have the burden of proof, the arguments will be concluded by Ms. Mitchell. The jury charge contains the law that will be necessary to enable you to reach a verdict. You'll see that the jury charge follows a form that basically has the definitions, the legal definitions in the first couple pages. And then you'll see that there is an application paragraph, and then you'll see that there's defense of a third person. Anytime that you see in any of those paragraphs a term that is defined earlier in the jury charge, you are to use that definition. If a term is not defined, then you are to use your common, ordinary understanding of what the term means. Do not, under any circumstances, consult a dictionary or do any independent research. Remember, you all have done very well at keeping your oath in mind to render a verdict based on the law and the evidence. You've done well at that. The only evidence comes from the witness stand. The only thing that you're allowed to use is your common sense and things that you've heard in the courtroom and nowhere else. Now, as probably as important as ever, keep that instruction in mind. It doesn't go away just because you're deliberating. You are not allowed to deliberate unless all 12 of you are present at the same time during deliberations. The alternates will be placed in a different room, so the 12 of you, when all 12 of you are present, can deliberate. If one of you needs to take a break, then you need to cease your deliberations. I'll have some further concluding instructions after I read the jury charge. You will have all the evidence that was admitted before you in this case for all purposes. You've heard several times, and you may recall, that I admitted things for record purposes only. That means it's not for you, it's for the court. You don't need to worry about that. Don't speculate about what it's all about. You're only to confine your deliberations to the evidence that you heard in court and that was received for all purposes. In the event that some of the evidence you want to review is digital evidence, we can bring that back. We will have to bring you back into court so that you can view it, and we can make those arrangements. But I don't have, and there's a TV back there, but I don't have any way to display digital evidence on the TV. So with all of that in mind, jury charge reads as follows. Cause number F21 75024, State of Texas versus Darrin Lopez, 292nd Judicial District Court. Members of the jury, Darrin Lopez, hereinafter called the defendant, stands charged by indictment with the offense of murder alleged to have been committed on or about the 9th day of October of 2020 in Dallas County, Texas. To this charge, the defendant has pleaded not guilty. You were instructed that the law applicable to this case is as follows. Offense. Our law provides that a person commits murder when he, 1, intentionally or knowingly causes the death of an individual, or 2, intends to cause serious bodily injury and commits an act clearly dangerous to human life that causes the death of an individual. Term definitions. Act means a bodily movement, whether voluntary or involuntary, and includes speech. Actor means a person whose criminal responsibility is in issue in a criminal action. Another means a person other than the actor. Attempt to commit an offense occurs if, with the specific intent to commit an offense, a person does an act amounting to more than mere preparation that tends but fails to effect the commission of the offense intended. Page 2. Bodily injury means physical pain, illness, or impairment of physical condition. Conduct means an act or omission and its accompanying mental state. Deadly weapon means a firearm or anything manifestly designed, made, or adapted for the purpose of inflicting death or serious bodily injury. Or 3, anything that in the manner of its use or intended use is capable of causing death or serious bodily injury. Firearm means any device designed, made, or adapted to expel a projectile through a barrel by using the energy generated by an explosion or burning substance, or any device readily convertible to that use. Individual means a human being who is alive, including an unborn child at every stage of gestation from fertilization until birth. And everybody in the audience to please silence your cell phones. They don't need to be on right now.
That doesn't apply to us.
Serious bodily injury means bodily injury that creates a substantial risk of death or that causes death, serious permanent disfigurement, or protracted loss or impairment of the function of any bodily member or organ. Aggravated kidnapping is defined as abducting another person with the intent to hold them for ransom or reward, use them as a shield or a hostage, inflict bodily injury on a person or violate them sexually, or terrorize them or a third person. Sexual assault is defined as the penetration of the anus, sexual organ, or mouth of another person by any means, or the sexual organ of another person to contact or penetrate the mouth, anus, or sexual organ of another person without that person's consent. Aggravated sexual assault is defined as a person committing sexual assault while causing serious bodily injury or attempting to cause the death of the victim, using or exhibiting a deadly weapon in the commission of the sexual assault, or providing any substance capable of impairing the victim's ability to resist the act. Mental state definitions. Person acts intentionally or with intent with respect to the result of his conduct when it is his conscious objective or desire to cause the result. Person acts knowingly or with knowledge with respect to the result of his conduct when he is aware that his conduct is reasonably certain to cause the result. Application of the law to the facts. Now, if you find from the evidence, beyond a reasonable doubt, that on or about the 9th day of October 2020 in Dallas County, Texas, the defendant, Darrin Lopez, did unlawfully, then and there, intentionally or knowingly cause the death of James Faith, an individual, by shooting him with a firearm, a deadly weapon, then you will find the defendant guilty of murder, and you will next consider whether the defendant's conduct was justified as explained below. Or, if you find from the evidence, beyond a reasonable doubt, that on or about the 9th day of October 2020, Dallas County, Texas, the defendant, Darrin Lopez, did unlawfully then and there intend to cause serious bodily injury to James Faith, an individual, and did then and there commit an act clearly dangerous to human life, to wit, by shooting James Faith with a firearm, a deadly weapon, and did thereby cause the death of James Faith, then you will find the defendant guilty of murder, and you will next consider whether the defendant's conduct was justified as explained below. If you have a reasonable doubt as to whether the defendant is guilty of any offense defined in this charge, you will acquit the defendant and say by your verdict, not guilty. Page 4, defense of a third person, justification as applied to murder. In regards to the offense of murder, you are instructed that under our law, a person is justified in using force against another to protect a third person if, under the circumstances as he reasonably believes them to be, such person would be justified in using force to protect himself against the unlawful force of another, which he reasonably believes to be threatening the third person he seeks to protect, and he reasonably believes that his intervention is immediately necessary to protect the third person. A person is justified in using deadly force against another to protect a third person if, under the circumstances as he reasonably believes them to be, such person would be justified in using force to protect himself against another, which he reasonably believes to be threatening the third person he seeks to protect, and when and to the degree the person reasonably believes deadly force is immediately necessary to A, protect the third person against the other's use or attempted use of unlawful deadly force, or to prevent the other's imminent commission of aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery, and he reasonably believes that his intervention is immediately necessary to protect the third person. The defendant's belief that deadly force was immediately necessary is presumed to be reasonable if the defendant, 1, knew or had reason to believe that the person against whom the deadly force was used, A, unlawfully and with force entered or was attempting to enter unlawfully and with force the third person's occupied habitation, vehicle, or place of business or employment. B, unlawfully and with force removed or was attempting to remove unlawfully and with force the third person from the defendant's habitation, vehicle, or place of business or employment. Or C, was committing or attempting to commit aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery. 2, the defendant and the third person did not provoke the person against whom the force was used. And 3, the defendant and third person was not otherwise engaged in criminal activity other than a Class C misdemeanor that is a violation of the law or ordinance regulating traffic at the time the force was used. A person who has a right to be present at the location where deadly force is used, who has not provoked the person against whom the deadly force is used, and who is not engaged in criminal activity at the time the deadly force is used, is not required to retreat before using deadly force, and a finder of fact may not consider whether the actor or third person failed to retreat in determining whether an actor reasonably believed that the use of deadly force was necessary. Reasonable belief means a belief that would be held by an ordinary and prudent person in the same circumstances as the defendant. Page 6. Deadly force means force that is intended or known by the person using it to cause, or in the manner of its use or intended use is capable of causing, death or serious bodily injury. Habitation means a structure or vehicle that is adapted for the overnight accommodation of persons and includes A, each separately secured or occupied portion of the structure, and B, each structure appertinent to or connected with the structure. The presumption of reasonable belief applies unless the state proves beyond a reasonable doubt that the facts giving rise to the presumption do not exist. If the state fails to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the facts giving rise to the presumption do not exist, the jury must find that the presumed fact exists. If the jury has a reasonable doubt as to whether the presumed fact exists, the presumption applies, and the jury must consider the presumed facts to exist. Application of defense of a third person to the offense of murder. Therefore, if you find from the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that on or about the 9th day of October 2020, the defendant, Darrin Lopez, did then and there intentionally or knowingly cause the death of James Faith by shooting James Faith with a firearm, a deadly weapon, or if you find that the defendant, Darrin Lopez, did then and there intend to cause serious bodily injury to James Faith and did then and there commit an act clearly dangerous to human life, to wit, by shooting James Faith with a firearm, a deadly weapon, and did thereby cause the death of James Faith as alleged in the indictment, but you further find from the evidence, or you have a reasonable doubt thereof, that, viewed from the standpoint of the defendant at the time, from the words or conduct or both of James Faith, if it reasonably appeared to the defendant that the life or person of Jennifer Faith was in danger, and there was created in the defendant's mind a reasonable expectation or fear of Jennifer Faith's death or serious bodily injury from the unlawful use of force at the hands of James Faith, and that acting under such apprehension and reasonably believing that the use of deadly force by his intervention on his part was immediately necessary to protect Jennifer Faith against James Faith's use or attempted use of unlawful deadly force, or to prevent the imminent commission by James Faith of aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery, then you will find the defendant not guilty. If you find from the evidence, beyond a reasonable doubt, that at the time and place in question that the defendant did not reasonably believe that Jennifer Faith was in danger of death or serious bodily injury, or that the defendant, under the circumstances as viewed by him from his standpoint at the time, did not reasonably believe that the degree of deadly force actually used by him was immediately necessary to protect Jennifer Faith against James Faith's use or attempted use of unlawful deadly force, or prevent James Faith's imminent commission of aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery, then you should find against the defendant on the issue of defense of a third person. Evidentiary instructions. Times throughout the trial, the court has been called upon to pass on the question of whether or not certain offered evidence might properly be admitted. You are not to be concerned with the reasons for such rulings and are not to draw any inferences from them. Whether offered evidence is admissible is purely a question of law. In admitting evidence to which an objection is made, the court neither determines what weight should be given such evidence, nor passes on the credibility of the witnesses. As to any offer of evidence that has been rejected by the court, you, of course, page 8, must not consider the same. As to any question to which an objection was sustained, you must not conjecture as to what the answer might have been or as to the reason for the objection. Indictment. An indictment is the means whereby a defendant is brought to trial in a felony prosecution. It is not evidence of guilt, nor can it be considered by you in passing upon the question of guilt of the defendant. The fact that the defendant has been arrested, confined, indicted, or otherwise charged with the offense does not give rise to any inference of guilt at his trial. Extraneous conduct. You were instructed that if there is any testimony before you in this case regarding the defendant's acts, if any, other than the offense charged in the indictment, you cannot consider that testimony for any purpose unless you find and believe beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed such acts, if any were committed. Even then, you may only consider it in determining motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, absence of mistake or accident, and for no other purpose. In all prosecutions for murder, the state or the defendant shall be permitted to offer testimony as to all relevant facts and circumstances surrounding the killing and the previous relationship existing between the accused and the deceased, together with all relevant facts and circumstances going to show the condition of the mind of the accused at the time of the offense. Fifth Amendment. Our law provides that a defendant may testify in his own behalf if he elects to do so. In this case, the defendant has elected to testify. Presumptions and burden of proof. All persons are presumed to be innocent, and no person may be convicted of an offense unless each element of the offense is proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The law does not require, page 9, the defendant to prove his innocence or produce any evidence at all. The presumption of innocence alone is sufficient to acquit the defendant, unless you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt of the defendant's guilt after careful and impartial consideration of all the evidence in this case. The burden of proof is, in all criminal cases, rests upon the state throughout the trial, and it never shifts to the defendant. Prosecution has the burden of proving the defendant guilty, and it must do so by proving each and every element of the offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. If the state fails to meet its burden, you must acquit the defendant. It is not required that the prosecution proves guilt beyond all possible doubt. It is required that the prosecution's proof excludes all reasonable doubt concerning the defendant's guilt. Concluding instructions. You are charged that it is only from the witness stand that the jury is permitted to receive evidence regarding the case, and no juror is permitted to communicate to any other juror anything that they may have heard regarding the case from any source other than the witness stand. In deliberating on this case, you are not to refer to or discuss any matter or issue not in evidence before you. Further, you shall not discuss this case to anyone not of your jury. You are the exclusive judges of the facts proved, of the credibility of the witnesses, and of the weight to be given their testimony, but you are bound to receive and to follow the law from the court which is given to you in these written instructions. After you have retired to consider your verdict, no one has any authority to communicate with you except the bailiff who has you in his or her charge. You may communicate with this court in writing, signed by your presiding juror through the bailiff who has you in his or her charge. Do not attempt to talk to the bailiff, the court, the attorneys concerning any question you may have. After argument of counsel, you will retire and select one of your members as your presiding juror. It is his or her duty to preside at your deliberations and to vote with you in arriving at a verdict. Page 10. Your verdict must be unanimous. And after you have arrived at your verdict, you may use one of the forms attached by having your presiding juror complete and sign the particular form that conforms to your particular verdict. Signed by me, Brandon Birmingham, presiding judge, the 292nd Judicial District Court right here in Dallas County, Texas. Page 10 contains the verdict form. You will see that it instructs you to choose one, and that's because they are mutually exclusive. First verdict reads, we the jury unanimously find the defendant, Darrin Lopez, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment, and there's a spot for the presiding juror to sign and print his or her name once that conforms to your unanimous verdict. Or, and again, they are mutually exclusive, we the jury unanimously find the defendant, Darrin Lopez, not guilty, and there's a spot again for the presiding juror to sign and print his or her name once that conforms to your unanimous verdict. Court recognizes the Honorable Caitlin Paver on behalf of the state. Ma'am, this is your jury. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank
here we go with closing arguments. Hopefully they're not as spicy as some of the testimony in this trial. Wow.
May it please the court, counsel. Ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you, Tish.
The idea that Darrin Lopez was justified in killing, in executing Jamie Faith, it is as absurd and unbelievable as those fake emails. Even if you give him every benefit of the doubt, even if you believe what he told you from this witness stand, which much of it was untrue or misleading, even if you were to believe all of that, it still does not justify the murder of Jamie Faith. You have been given the law on defense of a third person. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about this in voir dire. It has to be a reasonable belief. Yes, that means subjectively from the defendant's point of view, but it also means, and it's in here, the definition is in here, an ordinary and prudent person in the defendant's shoes. What did he reasonably believe? What would an ordinary and prudent person have reasonably believed in his shoes? What would an ordinary and prudent person have done? Would they not have tried to gather more information to get more answers about this supposed abuse that was going on? Absolutely. That is an ordinary and prudent person acting that way. But not him. He didn't seek any additional information. He just accepted the emails and the texts as he was receiving them. And as for the texts, we don't have them. So you just have to take his word for it that that's what was going on. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard about his mental health, about his PTSD. He has a mild TBI. He has some attention issues. And I'm certainly not going to diminish that he served his country and that he was injured doing so. That is true. But it does not excuse this behavior. In fact, to the contrary, he is more equipped than anyone else to conduct some reconnaissance. He told you he was trained by the ATF in reconnaissance. So why not go do a little reconnaissance of your own and figure out if this abuse is actually happening? He's trained in situational awareness, assessing threats, all of these things because he was special forces. So in fact, I think you can hold him to a higher standard than a reasonable person.
That's not the law, Your Honor. It's misstating the law and burdens and the higher standard they're going to hold him to.
It's the defendant's subjective belief.
Members of the jury, if the lawyers say anything in conflict with what's written on the jury charge, you go with what's written in the jury charge.
You can consider his training, his experience, all of those things when you think about what his subjective belief would be. All of that fell by the wayside when it came to getting Jamie Faith out of the way so that he could have Jennifer Faith. He did nothing to investigate. And let's talk about immediately necessary. It has to be immediate. That means now, right this moment, action is needed. Not in a few minutes, not in a few hours, not later today, not this weekend. Right now. A split-second decision. Fear of future danger is never enough. And certainly, when you have premeditated an execution, there is nothing immediate about it. He drove 650 miles halfway across the country, 10 hours to ambush Jamie Faith. What is immediate about that? Even when he got to Dallas, he sat in the vacant house next door for hours before he acted. There was nothing immediate, and there was nothing necessary Necessary means you have to do this. You have no other options. This is your only choice. We are talking about the taking of a human life being justified. It is a high standard. It has to be your only option. Ladies and gentlemen, Darrin Lopez had so many options that he did not take. He could have reached out to Jennifer's family. He could have tried to find her friends. He could have called American Airlines. These are all things he discusses. He considers them and then glosses right over them. He could have done the thing that every reasonable person would have done, which is call the police. He could have helped her just escape. He's special forces. Why don't you come on an escape mission? Not an execution. He had so many choices, and the only thing he did, he emailed Rob. That was how he handled this. I'll just email Rob, this guy I've never met. And when he doesn't do anything, I don't know. I guess I'll just skip all the other options and jump straight to murder. Absolutely not necessary. Nothing immediate and nothing necessary about it. And you will get that in the charge. You also will see in here, he can only use deadly force in response to deadly force or imminent harm. There was nothing imminent that was about to happen to Jennifer Faith. At most, he said, maybe Jamie would sometimes burn her on these walks. You don't get to kill someone because you think he might burn someone with a cigarette in a few minutes. That's absurd. And you will see in here the presumption. And if you read these provisions carefully, you will see it absolutely does not apply. I want you in particular to pay attention to the part about provoking the person. James Faith did nothing to provoke anyone in this situation. He was truly a completely innocent victim, walking along totally unsuspecting. That tells you that Darrin Lopez is not entitled to the presumption. There was nothing reasonable, immediate, or necessary about what he did. And again, ladies and gentlemen, that's assuming, that is assuming that you believe that he believed those emails. And they were absurd. You saw those pictures that he was receiving. They were clearly stills from pornographic movies. They were very explicit. Ladies and gentlemen, either you see those and you immediately know this is not real, or you see those and you immediately know I need to help somebody right this minute. You don't sit on it and wait 186 days. That's how long from the first time he heard about her abuse to the date he killed James Faith. 186 days went by that he did not act. He knew there was, even if you want to say, okay, maybe he didn't know for sure that they were fake, he knew there was something amiss. Any reasonable person would know that there was something off about those emails.
These emails.
Thank you, Judge. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that because he sent that strangulation picture to himself. It's nowhere else on his phone, and you better believe if it had been emailed to him from that fake Jamie Faith account, he would not have deleted it. He didn't delete those emails. He sent it to himself, and you can go look at it. He sends it, there's a draft, he sends it to himself. He sends it to himself with a named file that's a series of numbers, and then when he sends it to Rob, he has retitled it, Choking. And he says to Rob, this is what he sent to me. Absolutely not. He was participating in it at that point. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit more about how you know that they had agreed on this. And I want you to pay attention to these dates in particular. On August 21st, Jen Faith texts Tina and says, I cut ties with Darrin. And we know that's not true. We know that's not true because the next day they're talking. And these are just the calls that are left in the call log. There's probably more out there, but they're talking. August 22nd, Google Doc, concerns / things to be addressed / done, shared by Jennifer Faith. August 22nd. They continue talking. August 29th, she sends it back to him. Invitation to edit. Concerns, things to be addressed or done. What do you think is in that document that they made sure was deleted? They continue talking, apparently watching pornography together, more talking, and ladies and gentlemen, September 3rd, she deletes those fake email accounts. Why would she delete them on September 3rd? Because she knew she didn't need them anymore. They had reached their agreement. The execution plan was underway. And he tells you September, that month, they did exchange text messages where she's telling him, you gotta have a front license plate in Texas. This is what time my pool boy is here in the morning. And he said, don't worry, I'm just gonna take the freeways, maybe once through downtown. This was premeditated. 100% premeditated. And it was so that he could have her. It wasn't to protect her. It was to get Jamie Faith out of his way. You heard on that video with the gunshots being fired, we hear someone say, hey, right before the gunshots. We don't know if it was the defendant or Jamie Faith. It could have been Jamie Faith's last words. What we do know is that Jamie Faith, either he said hey or he heard him say hey, and he turned around and he saw what was about to happen to him. He saw a masked man running up on him, ambushing him in the street when he's walking his dog. He knew those moments were his last. We talked a lot about honor. The defendant talked a lot about honor. There was no honor in this. This was the most dishonorable thing that a man can do. The execution of an innocent person for personal gain. And he is guilty of murder. Thank you.
Very quick closing.
Thank you, Ms. Faver. Court recognize the Honorable Cliff Duke
Part
on
two
behalf
might
of
be
the
much
defense. So this is
spicier.
your jury. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Paper said something very clear that I want you to understand, that Darrin Lopez and Mr. Sanchez and myself, and I think all of us completely understand, is that Jamie Faith did absolutely nothing to provoke Darrin Lopez in any way, shape, or form. But this woman, his wife of over 15 years, created a monster out of the person that was Jamie Faith that absolutely provoked and terrified Darrin Lopez to this point of action. And understand that it was absolutely no mistake. You heard from Keith Duncan when he took the time to call in yesterday and be able to tell you that when he found out about what had gone on, it was close enough that almost 30 years later, it concerned him enough to call the FBI and say, hey, you've got to know about this. That she's done this before. She's done it exactly like this before. And she's been doing it since the time that Darrin and Jennifer first had that ever-important romance that has been central to his life for his entire life. His first love that he held on to through war, through torture, through injury, and through failures, and that then he reconnected with, and that she immediately began to take advantage of. We have an advantage here, ladies and gentlemen. We have an advantage of all of the communication that you get to take back, that you can walk through from March 17th, date by date, all the way up and through, and follow what went along. And the state's implication that Darrin had some idea that this was fake or that this was wrong is ridiculous. Ms. Paver told you during voir dire, you don't leave your common sense at the door. Look at the emails, look at the communications, look at his testimony and what he has been able to tell you consistently throughout this entire process. And I want to take a couple minutes and talk to you and show you exactly what happened. That the two of them did reconnect. That she was important enough to him and had been for so long that he felt like it was important, that he had been drafting a letter to her even before he found her again. But from the beginning, he's not looking to steal her away from her marriage or to break up the marriage or immediately get her back, but that she was important enough to seek out again and reconnect with and tell her what she had meant as he was going through his 18 and a half years and 6 deployments in Iraq. That he had no desire to break up that marriage. But immediately, the two of them do connect. Jennifer tells him about how her marriage is broken, about how she is unhappy. And the two of them start an almost immediate emotional affair, and understanding where Darrin has been holding on to her for 2 decades, and how exciting it must be that she is interested and excited and as willing to re-engage with him. And Jennifer's been practicing this for 30 years. And what's some of the first things that she's talking about? How important it was to her for when he held on to her. She knows how important she was to him. And starting to ask about his injuries and how those affected him. She admits to her friend even. The two of them are having a full-blown emotional affair. Now, we may not like people getting in between marriages. We may not like the fact that marriages break down and that relationships don't work on both sides. But that doesn't remove us from what then happens as Jennifer Faith begins to manipulate this entire situation. When she creates a fake email for her husband, when she's already been texting Darrin as her husband, saying, "I've got you and I'm punishing her for you two running around behind my back." The scary thing here, ladies and gentlemen, is that there's no evidence that's been admitted here at all that Jamie even knew that the two of them were ever communicating. That he was completely innocent in all of this. But Jennifer was portraying him as this monster as she started to ratchet things up. That she started to be emotionally abused by her husband. And then she began to start to become physically abused by her husband. And I'm sorry that I'm going to click through a few of these emails and make you look at them again. Because these are traumatic emails to folks like us, just looking at them with none of the connection. But it's important to remember, as Ms. Paver pointed out, from a subjective view, from Darrin's point of view, and from an objective view, in Darrin's shoes, what these were doing to him for the love of his life. When he's telling him about gangbang, triple penetration, that's what we'll be doing to her. Lining people up and the injuries that he had done to him. This is Jennifer turning her husband, James Faith, into a monster. Let's remember when this is. Society is shut down. We are on lockdown. Darrin has already been extremely removed from everybody, even before COVID. And this is what he is getting about the love of his life. I want to take a sidestep for just a minute and talk about the inconsistencies in these emails. And clearly, Darrin knew that because he was emailing these things to himself, because he had already got these injury photos and then is still asking them from Jennifer. We'll take a look again, because the email that Darrin sends back to Jamie is, "P.S. I just got your email. Your sick birthday shit stops now." He hadn't got the injury photos. He was asking Jennifer, "I need one photo, one pic. Give me something." And then he sees this email from Jamie after the fact when he's already sent that back. "I just got your email. This stops now." And the infamous choking picture. You heard from Jordan Exman and also from their own technical expert, who wasn't as forthcoming with it. But they said it's very plausible and very reasonable that when you get something on a text, you've got to put it somewhere. And like a 50-year-old man, he's going to save it in his email. And that's exactly what we have here. It's put into the cache at the exact same time that he saves it into his own email. There's nothing nefarious about this. This isn't that he had it for years. There's the implication that this somehow tells Darrin that this is all fake. Aha, I've got it, is ridiculous. That this is what they're pointing to, that he somehow should have known that Jennifer was manipulating him to this level, is beyond ridiculous. And then Darrin is still doing everything he can, as Jamie has had that birthday weekend, an important weekend. And look back at the dates in 2020. Look at the emails. This was all weekend leading up to Monday with the pictures. And Darrin's doing what he can at this point, right? He's trying to threaten Jamie through the emails. He's telling him, I'm going to call the cops. I will have a domestic disturbance out there. And what do we hear then? That Jennifer automatically is getting back, no, I'm okay. It's okay. Stop. Don't call the police. I don't want to get Amber involved. I'm going to deny everything. And what do we know at that point? If the police come out and Jennifer denies everything, and now Jamie knows that the police have been called, what's the ramp up at that level? Thank you, Judge. He's doing everything that he can, but Jennifer needs to pull him back. And so she creates Rob. So she's now impersonating two different individuals to give Darrin the way to get out and say, hey, look at what's going on. Get involved in this life. You know the two of them better. You can be involved and help step in. And things get better. We've got this spike in May, and then for the next 3 months, things get better. And again, we do see that the two of their relationship, Darrin is feeling better when they're talking and they're texting. They're building their relationship together, and things are not as bad as home because Rob has intervened and Jamie has been pulled back from the brink of this ridiculous, destructive, abusive action. And the two of them are having their emotional affair and their long-distance relationship at this point, because it is more than just the emotional affair at this point. They are sexually engaged even though they are not together. That Darrin somehow is the one that is pushing this sadomasochistic evil stuff on Jennifer, even though that she's a rape victim. Read the letter again. We can see exactly where this is coming from. I'm finding out that you have an interest in Dom sub things. The way that I role play makes me a daddy Dom without even knowing it. Jennifer is introducing this thing that Darrin is interested in, and the love of his life, surprise, surprise, he is wanting to do exactly what she wants to be able to build that relationship more and more. She is the one introducing this. She is the one pushing the envelope. She is the one bringing Darrin into it. And even then, folks, it's insulting to victims of rape to compare a consensual BDSM relationship and gang rape. Those are two very different things. And the two of them are absolutely in love. And then things start getting worse again. He's cutting her hair. He's burning her with cigarettes. Jennifer is pushing on the accelerator back towards danger and threat and terrifying Darrin to the point that he's overreacting. 3 hours. I mean, good grief, I can go a couple of days sometimes without hearing somebody without panicking. But Darrin Lopez, 3 hours and he's emailing Rob freaking out. Is she okay? And then she pulls the only outlet line that he's got. Rob goes away. He has no other person to reach out to. Jennifer has shut down any ability for Darrin to be able to reach out and try to help from where he is isolated and scared and terrified for what's going on. And she pushes on the accelerator to the point that Darrin is tracking her every moment through the Las Vegas trip, terrified that she might just disappear, and at least I've got some Google data to tell the police where she was the last time. And she's pushing on the accelerator as she is building up where she drowned by her husband in a hot tub to where he had to resuscitate her. And where he's going to do it again. Almost 6,000 texts between the two of them, between October 1st and October 9th, pushing on the accelerator, scared of that anniversary date, scared of how things are building up, terrified of what Jamie is doing, leading up to a date certain, an anniversary weekend that's going to be special. where she is going to be drowned now not just on one man's penis.
The audio's cutting out a little bit.
Creating this monster of her creation
came
onto
back.
Darrin Lopez. And as you're thinking about all of this, you have to, number one, think about it from Darrin Lopez's perspective, the subjective perspective. And then number two, you have to look at it objectively of a reasonable person in his shoes as a damaged, broken, 100% disabled war veteran. Thinking about every failure in his life for the family of Jeff Frensley that died in 2008. When he failed to save his granddaughter Skylar in 2009. When he failed Don Garland, his Special Forces teammate who took his life in 2012. When he failed with his identity was taken away, ending his military career. The entirety of his life taken away because of a medical discharge. When he failed to stand up for his family and was beaten by a debt collector in 2014. As his marriage failed and his wife has moved on to somebody else. Darrin could not fail. Jennifer failed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duke. Mr. Sanchez, you have 17 minutes out of the 30 remaining. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'll let you know when you have 2 minutes remaining for your request.
May it please the court, counsel.
I've never seen bifurcate the closing like this. Usually you just get one person to give the closing.
You've been here all week. I know it's been hard. It's been hard for all of us to sit here and listen to the evidence. You didn't have a choice to be here. You know, it was an invitation to come to serve on jury duty. It was an order that you received in the mail, and you all showed up, and we thank you for that. But you did have a choice. You had a choice whether to tell the truth during jury selection and whether you paid attention. And every time I looked over, every single juror was paying attention and doing their job, and I thank you for that. We had to sit through tedious evidence, 3 hours almost of email rereadings, but I didn't see anybody looking away. You're all looking intently because I think you're taking your job serious. And this is the time now, where, as I say, where the rubber meets the road. We've done all our job now. We've presented to you everything that we can present to you under the law. So now it's going to be in your hands. You are the ones that are going to go in the back and decide. We can't be back there trying to argue anymore with you on this case. You're on your own now as 12 individuals deciding what you're going to believe or not believe and where you're going to decide in this case. It's going to be a decision based on your own individual and moral assessment, as we talked about during jury selection. I look at the 12 of you, you all look different. You all look different than me too. We all come from different places in life. We all had different experiences. We've all been raised a certain way. We have different moral compasses. So each of you cannot put that away when you're deciding what the case is. Okay? You can't get rid of that. That's part of your makeup. That's part of your gut that tells you what to do. So when you go back there, don't give that up. Don't give that up. And you vote how you think you should vote, not based on what somebody else thinks. Just briefly, I'm just going to cover these real quick. Your rights as a juror, you had a right to the whole truth. And I think you got most of it. I think you got most of it from the state. But you have a right to the whole truth, and you decide what you received. Okay? But basically, what it comes down to is what happened here. Okay? Just to respond briefly to what the state had just told you. They told you should hold Darrin to a higher standard because he was a special forces soldier. Okay? That he knew how to collect intel. They want you to hold him to that standard when he first finished training and he first started to go to war. But in reality he wasn't that soldier anymore at that time. We know that for a fact. It's documented. from the military. He wasn't the soldier that he was when he first served. As a matter of fact, the military told him, you're not good enough anymore to be a soldier. Guess what? You're disabled. We don't want you anymore. We can't have you serving the country anymore. We've used you as much as we needed to use you. And now the shell of yourself, you're going to have to go back to your little farm in Tennessee. And you know what? You're on your own now. You're going to cope with whatever trauma you went through by yourself. It's up to you whether you want to go get treated by a doctor. It's up to you whether you want to take your medication. So to hold him to the standard of a special forces soldier when he was first a soldier is unfair and absurd. If we're talking about absurdities, that's one right there. But who was Darrin Lopez now when he got back from the war and disabled due to his PTSD, which is very important, as the doctor told you earlier, because at that point, not only was he injured, not only was he emotionally vulnerable, but his sense of danger was affected because of it. Because of his service to this country, now he viewed danger differently. Because again, you have to look at it through his eyes. You have to put yourself in his position and how he viewed things. And where did all this start? Where did this case start? Remember at the beginning when I told you, you know what, yes, Jennifer's not sitting in this courtroom. She's not on trial, but her acts are intertwined so much that she is on trial and what she did. The only way the state can get around that is by trying to say, well, Darrin must have known. He had to know that these emails were fake. That's the only way they're going to get around it. Because if you believe what Darrin believed, that those were actual emails that he was receiving in his state of mind at that time, then you know that she led him to do what he did. And this all started, just like my co-counsel said, in high school. He loved her. One of the most special memories that he had was that he went to Europe on this trip, kissed her on the Eiffel Tower, walked through the Black Forest, sat in the rain on a bench. These memories were so important to him that he held on to them. Even when he first entered the military, he put them on a card. So if he was ever captured and tortured, he could use those memories to get through that traumatic event. They dated. They broke up. He went off to work a little bit at Jack in the Box, but eventually he went to the horrors of war, fighting terrorists. And because of that, he started to go through traumatic events, as you heard. The major one being he got blown up next to a truck full of nitrate that caused him to have a traumatic brain injury. Now they're trying to say it's mild. Guess what? I don't think anybody wants to have even a mild traumatic injury. Okay? He had a brain injury. And it also, the trauma kept going. Kept going through his service. He suffered more traumatic events. And then even after he got out, he suffered more trauma, which contributed even to him still having that condition at the time he reconnected with Jennifer. And so is it any surprise that he was overjoyed and giddy, I would say, that he was finally able to find her and contact her, and that she actually wrote back, and that she actually reciprocated his love for her. And guess what? That was the biggest mistake he's made in his life, reconnecting with her. Because what do we know about Jennifer Faye? She's not a good person. She's manipulative. She's deceitful. She lies to everyone. She uses anybody the way she wants to. You heard from her prior boyfriend how she's been doing this since high school. And we heard Detective Barnes tell you that there was another individual that the investigation revealed that she had done similar things to.
Objection, misstatement of the facts, Your Honor.
The jury will recall the facts as you recall them.
When I asked the question, I said, didn't your investigation reveal there was at least 2 other individuals that she had done this to in the past? And he said, yes. So they reconnect, they start talking, but we also know again that that Jennifer will use anybody to her to get what she wants. We know that. Just as Anne-Marie Wilson told you, one of the first witnesses, the gentleman who came up to help when the shooting happened. At the very end of his testimony, he says, she used everyone. Even him. She was even trying to get him to try to say that maybe the person who committed this might have been black. And that's what even caused him to maybe not even talk to her anymore. Okay? She used the police, lied to them. Even when they were sitting down trying to comfort her and praying with her, she was deceiving them the whole time. She lied to Jamie. She even used her daughter, Amber, as an excuse not to involve the police. And especially, she lied to Darrin. Now, this argument that Darrin knew those were fake emails, if they're going to use the word absurd, that's the most absurd argument you're going to hear today. And the way you know it's absurd is because Detective Barnes told you from the stand that Darrin was duped. Detective Barnes, one of the main investigators on this case, ATF liaison, told you that he was manipulated. He didn't hedge. He told you that right to your face. So why would Detective Barnes have that opinion? Why would he tell you, one of the lead investigators who knows more about this case than
Jennifer's
anyone,
daughter in back.
why would he say that to you if that wasn't true? And because it's true, that means he was manipulated. He was duped. And when someone's duped, that means they didn't know what they were reading was not real. She created all the information in this case, created the whole world, created the monster, and then set Darrin, the disabled soldier, to do her bidding. I usually don't make notes for closing arguments, but I think this is just a very important case, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. But again, she took advantage of Darrin's love for her. She took advantage of Darrin's commitment to her, his memory of her, and used it. And where you see the biggest manipulation of all is after the killing. But before that, she, as my co-counsel said, I'm not going to go over everything he actually said because he did a good job doing that, but you could see the arc of the danger that she used in this case, and that she manipulated, and that she lied about. She meets him, she asks about his traumatic brain injury, she even asked to see his records, and she starts using it to her advantage. She even told him, and you'll see in one of the emails, that she had some certification in brain injury. So she knew what she was doing. She knew which buttons to push, and she knew the condition that Darrin was in. Now, we're not saying he's intellectually disabled, but he suffered from a condition that caused him to believe that harm might be coming more than most people, which tells you why he acted the way he did. So she ramps him up with that date. Before, she was just talking about abuse. She thought he was going to call the police, and Rob gets introduced, the fake Rob. Rob is a real person. He really was a coworker of hers, but not the Rob in the email. She totally made that up. So she's controlling all the information and how Darrin receives it. He's getting emails from the fake Jamie, emails from the fake Rob. He's receiving information that way. He's getting text messages, but through her phone, because she had to control it to be through her phone because she didn't want him calling another number. So she makes it where he's texting through her phone, and that is important because that's how Darrin and her eventually, or it was actually Darrin who said, you know what, let's use this code so that way I know if it's really you calling me. That was his idea, Darrin's, because he wanted to make sure it was her. Okay? So she's controlling the emails, she's controlling the text messages, and she's controlling herself talking on the phone.
Lisa, it was really fast.
When Darrin should get rid of emails or get rid of text messages. And we know he was not deleting emails in November to try to cover something up. Because as you've seen, most of the information we got in this case was from Darrin. who did get rid of a lot of stuff. From his computer, his email account, his phone. She was smart. She got rid of not only her text messages, except for the ones she overlooked to Tina. Not only that, she got rid of her phone. Darrin didn't get rid of his phone. She got rid of her phone, came in with a brand new phone. So as she's controlling this information and controlling him from going to the police, and again, they're making it sound like that's some kind of absurd thing. He was committed to her. She had lied to him, and she had told him it's going to get worse, and he believed it, and he was going to do anything she asked. He even told you from the stand. He was so committed to her and in love with her, he was going to do whatever she asked, including protect her. So we start after the Vegas trip. She starts again push. She's decided, I think I need to get rid of my husband. I'm sure that's what she thought. The evidence would show that. So what does she start to do? She says, it's time to get rid of him, and I'm going to start telling Darrin that it's getting worse. And just by the way, another on the side, the way you know that Darrin didn't know that was a fake email account from Jamie is because she casually slides it into a forwarded email about a diet plan. If that was some kind of role play or some kind of fantasy play, like, why would you do that? The only purpose of that would be to make it look like that was a real email. But we get back to September. She starts ramping up the allegations of abuse, telling him it's real. And as you heard, Darrin believed that it was anguishing him. He was going through another trauma too. Not only the traumas that he already had gone through that made him vulnerable to manipulation before, he told you how she would call him late at night, and also on top of the emails, tell him what happened and how she felt, where he couldn't sleep. He was going crazy.
You used 28 of your 30 minutes.
Thank you. And so Darrin, he thought it was an immediate danger because he jumps in his car and he drives straight to Dallas to save her. Straight to Dallas, stopping to put gas in the car only. He gets to South Dallas, he's lost. He knows once he turns on his iPad that he's leaving a breadcrumb, but it didn't matter to him because he wasn't going to lose another person. He gathered himself there and he thought about all the past trauma he's had, all the people he lost, and he wasn't going to let Jennifer be lost without him being able to do something. So he goes. And the first instant that he can safely save her, he does. He acted immediately to the danger that he perceived and that Jennifer created. If you put yourself in Darrin's position, it's reasonable to believe that he really felt he had to act at that point. I think you don't even have to be in Darrin's position. A lot of people in his position, if they were led to believe by the deceit of Jennifer Fick, would believe that. And he acted. And he killed him. And then when he found out that he was totally innocent, it devastated him. But it took him a long time. It took him a long time. Even after being confronted with Jennifer's deceit, he still didn't want to believe it. And he finally did. And when he finally did, he cooperated with law enforcement. And if you look at Jennifer's direction and manipulation in this case, it really comes to light after the killing, because she's the one directing the cover. She's the one telling him, "Hey, you need to get rid of these text messages." She's telling him this. She's the one saying, "Hey, that sticker, you might want to get rid of that. Go take it off." He hadn't even done that. He hadn't even done that. He hadn't even thought about that. She's the one that tells him, "Take the sticker off." And then in her very last attempt to deceive Darrin and get him to cover up for her, she sends him this Defendant's Exhibit Number 2, a letter on October 19th of 2021, where she says, 575. Just a quick note to say, I never lied to you, and I've never sent you emails from any account but mine as me. If Darrin knew that those were fake emails, why is she sending a letter to him in jail telling him that they were not fake emails? Why send a letter like this if he knew that? Because he didn't. And she was trying to cover for herself. Because she already had used Darrin for her purpose. And now she was trying to get Darrin to cover up for her. This is very vital because this undercuts their whole argument that he knew that those were fake. I think you all are reasonable people. I think you all can go in the back and make a reasonable decision based on the evidence that you heard. And we're asking you to do the right thing under the law. That's what we're asking you to do. I think we can sum up this whole case by the last words of some of the witnesses that you heard. You heard her old boyfriend from high school tell you that she had done this before and she did it again. And that's exactly what happened here. You heard Mr. Emery Wilson tell you that she used everybody, and she did. Darrin may have pulled the trigger, but she pulled down. And as Dr. Fabian told you at the end of his testimony, but for Jennifer, this would have never happened. I think you have all the evidence in front of you to tell you that deep in your heart and deep in your gut for you to make the proper decision in this case. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Court will recognize the Honorable Brandy Mitchell. Ma'am, you have 16 minutes. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
60 minutes to wrap up. Here we go.
Anguish, Darrin's anguish. Heck, those two talked all the time. They communicated all through the night. They didn't stop talking since March 17th. They couldn't keep away from each other. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to kill a man, if you're going to end his life, if you're going to choose the time and the place where his life ends, like Darrin did, then you better have a damn good reason. That's basic human moral conduct. And it better not be based on absurd emails. Subject line, get Jen home now, all caps. It better not be based on two grown men arguing via email. Interestingly, these emails on after September 3rd, when Rob Schmidt's email was deleted, Darrin never emails that again. Never. There's not one email. Nothing.
Jennifer, I could object. There was an email where he was wondering why the email had been deleted.
Members of the jury, you'll recall the testimony.
You better have a damn good reason, and it better not be based on some text conveniently deleted where a man tells another man the who, what, why, when, and where of the murder of his wife. That a man who works for American Airlines in IT is going to email and text this. You better have a good reason. Legally, it must, and this makes sense, it must be immediately necessary. And nothing about what those two did, nothing about what was going on, as Ms. Paver said, was immediately necessary. I'm sure, it's a good thing, I guess, that James Faith and Jennifer Faith, or James Faith, wants to keep up the routine of walking his dog before the murder of his wife later on, before an underwater blowjob drowning. That was convenient for Darrin. These two both cooked it up. Both. And he ran up to him and he executed him. An unarmed man. Nothing about that situation was immediately necessary. Everything that you guys have heard, these two cooked it up, and we know it. And there is no legal defense here. There is not one legal defense that applies in this case. There are lies, and there are stories, and there's strange sex and strange love. But there's no defense. There is but one victim here. One victim. James Faye. PTSD, a concussion. People have those all the time. They don't go out and commit murder. They don't show up based on some absurd communications and then tell you, oops, I deleted all that. But that was my justification for killing a man. Gone. Ladies and gentlemen, that man lost his life within seconds. Dead on the street. This good man. Jennifer Faith is responsible, and Darrin Lopez is responsible. And we are asking you to find him guilty, because he is guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Members of the jury, the next thing that's going to happen is that you all are going to go to the jury room to begin your deliberations. As the instructions tell you, you need to elect a foreperson, and then you'll begin your deliberations. All of the evidence will be sent back with you. A couple things. I'm going to sort of preempt some things based on experiences that I've had in the past. Some juries will go back and they'll send a question back to me saying, can we have a transcript of the trial? It does not work like that. The law forbids a general rereading of testimony. You all can articulate for me in writing if you have a specific disagreement about testimony, and I'll give you an example. Judge, we would like to have Brandon's testimony read back. Can't have that. Judge, 6 of us think that Brandon said the light was red. 6 of us think that Brandon said the light was green. Can you please go back and find that particular testimony, and we can begin looking. And as soon as we can get it, we'll give it to you. However, it's not instant. There's a process that must be followed. I only tell you that because I want you to understand that we'll be working as hard as we can, but it's not instantaneous. Other than that, I'm going to have some additional instructions for the alternate jurors. You are alternate jurors. We'll have accommodations for you in the back that is separate from the jurors in this case. You need to be there. If you need to take a restroom break or anything like that, you need to make sure that Sheriff Martin knows how to get a hold of you in case something happens and we need you immediately. Please wear your juror badges, and that goes for everybody in case you all do take breaks. And if anybody approaches you, and this goes for anybody, that makes you feel uncomfortable around here while you're on a break or taking a break, please let the bailiff know. We are now working on your schedule. If you want to go back and deliberate now, you can. If you want to go back and take a break, you can do that too. We'll be working on your schedule from here on out. The only thing I ask is that you keep us apprised of what your schedule will be by sharing that with Sheriff Martin. All rise for the jury. Court's in recess pending the jury's verdict.
All right, we are now in verdict watch. That was fast. I think I'm a little bit hot. I can't tell. I cannot hear myself. This is the weirdest thing. I've had headphones on, but I hear nothing in them. Let me fix. Okay, I fixed that so I can at least hear myself. I can see that you guys can hear me, so that's good. I could listen to court. I heard everything that they just said there, but I was not able to have my microphone and court on at the same time because I needed speakers locally to hear it. So I'm watching where I show no audio from the courtroom because he said we're in recess. We're not going to get any audio from the courtroom at this time. Very quick closings. Very quick. If you guys missed this trial, the entire trial has been similar to what you just saw today, including the moments of, oh my goodness, she said what? Yes, we had a ton of that as well. That was it was part of the testimony. When you send 223,000 texts, emails, and everything in about a 9-month period to someone you're having an emotional affair with, apparently there's going to be some adult material. There was a ton of it. And unfortunately, much of it was read in detail. So this case, we thought it was just going to be a nice, harmless little murder case, right? Like we're used to. It went off the rails in a big way. Luckily, in the closings, they kept it relatively clean. I think it still probably demonetized us just from the content. But yeah, there you go. Fun facts, fun things. I'm curious as far as what you guys think about the verdict, the instructions to the jury, and the possible verdicts they can return. It sounded like they have the option of saying guilty, unanimous, not guilty, but then they also have the defense of a third person. And you guys were asking the question, saying, hang on, he's reading the definitions of SA. Why is there an SA charge? There's not an SA charge against Darrin. Darrin is not being charged with SA. You need to understand what the verbiage of the law is regarding SA, so that you can say that Jennifer was, in Darrin's mind, Jennifer was in imminent danger of that attack from her husband, Jamie. Now, you have to look at this as if the jury has to put themselves in Darrin's position. And this is going to be really difficult because even the defense is saying Darrin is not like you guys. Darrin is different than you. The way he thinks is different. The way he processes threats are different. The way he's broken. He's damaged goods because of the TBI he suffered when he was serving in the war, when he was serving in Iraq or Korea. All his deployments, everything that he saw and went through during that changed him. He came back a different person. But they're still asking you to sit in his position, but believe everything that he believed, or that they say that he believed, even if all of us as reasonable people are looking to that and saying, whoa, this is just one red flag after another. This can't be this. How could anyone get to this point and say, yeah, this is what's happening, this is real, these are the serious events, this is how I should respond? So it's a tough burden for the defense to get the jury there. Also, if you just listen to the terminology, listen to the wording of those jury instructions, it pretty much spells out that if those terms were met, if those elements of the charge were met, guess what? You need to find him guilty of murder. And so there's some pretty clear instructions for the jury to go out there and say, this is pretty clear cut. We might not like it, but this is what the law is. Is this a really old case? It's only from 2001. This is the first time it's been tried. Jennifer, who we've heard about, this was the wife of the victim. So let me draw. Well, I was going to draw some pictures, but let's see. That'll be a little difficult to get going. I do have the verdict counter going. I need to set it up so that you can see it properly because it's not zoomed in. I'll get that fixed here in just a second. I'm not sure why it's showing up that way, but. Anyway, the main players in this are obviously the defendant. His name is Darrin. Darrin lived in Tennessee. He had a relationship in high school and maybe even into college with Jennifer. Jennifer, at that time, she had a different last name. She was not Jennifer Faith, but Jennifer was, they were boyfriend, girlfriend. They went on the band trip through Europe together. They kissed under the Eiffel Tower for the first time. They've got all these stories. They went through the rainforest, and it's incredible. I mean, it's like a love story out of high school. It was great. Everything was wonderful. They were supposedly planning on getting married until things just went different ways. He went into the military, and they fell apart. And in Jennifer's mind, she moved on, and they really didn't stay in touch. But he stayed connected to her. And as he was in the military and filling out his the SEER form, things like that, the paperwork he has to go through in case something goes wrong. Who to contact in case I get captured and you need to verify it's me. What information can I share with you that you can say, yep, that's him, because only he would have that information. He used Jennifer for that. He used their kiss under the Eiffel Tower. He had this his military life. Even though he went on, he got married and everything else and had his own family. His military life, Jennifer played a prominent role without knowing it. Samantha Terry, thank you for the super chat, by the way. I found this behind the sofa. I know YouTube will be mean to you today. That's all right. Thank you so much. You're amazing, incredible mod as well. So Darrin's going through military, and he's got this, right or wrong, he builds this idea. There's no way they're done. We're looking at the flag, I think. Oh, we're getting a white balance. I'm not sure. We're just wandering around. Cameraman's board. Here we go. We get a field trip, courtesy of the cameraman. Somebody's leaning on the control. Anyway, he builds this life. Thank you, Matthew Harris, for the gifted memberships. You're amazing. Congratulations to the winners. Sniper79, I see you in this work. Well, congratulations on turning green there. He builds this life in the military with him, and I guess it was a fantasy. It It was hanging on to something that was and isn't now, but Jennifer plays a prominent role, and that's what helps him get through a lot of this, according to him. And so, as when he finally loses his identity as far as military, because he's re-enlisted several times, he's done several tours of duty, he's got these battle buddies. He lost 19 people in a roadside bombing, or a double roadside bombing, and he and 3 other guys survived. And these buddies they're just tight. They're actually those 3 buddies were in court the entire time. They were there. That's when it cuts to the camera and shows them. Some of those buddies are there in court. Thank you, Tish. Appreciate the support. The Gravity, yes, we do. We support the good ones. We love them. So Darrin loses his identity. It's tough when the military, which he loved doing. He loved serving in the military. They told him, "You're broken. You can't do this anymore." Oh, look, there's the panic button. I guess we get to look at that. I guess it lights. That's a jury call button. We get to watch to see if they have a question. I've never seen this before. This is great. Anyway, he gets out of the military, crushed probably that he exited at the mill, not on his own time schedule, and broken. Goes through a lot of difficult times. They listed all those in the closings about people he had lost, whether it was family members, whether it was friends who had served with. He goes through that, and he decides to reach out to Jennifer on LinkedIn. And he's like, "Hey, it's me. Hope you respond." And she responds. She's like, "How do I know it's you?" And he's like, "Well, remember I had a little code name for you. I called you my angel, as you wish," which was a little line from a movie called The Princess Bride. And she's like, "Oh, it's you. That's awesome. Wow, let's reconnect." And within 5 days, they are making plans for a life together. I believe this time both of them are married, just not to each other. Okay, and these plans, they go off the rails. Clearly, his time he spent building, at least in his head, a story around Jennifer in his life, probably played into this. But Jennifer's responses to him, which we don't have all of them, or at least we didn't see all of them. But Jennifer's responses were accelerating this conversation, and she quickly started sharing information that she was not happy in the marriage she was in, that there was, the love wasn't there anymore, and it rapidly, very rapidly progressed into some very adult conversations going back and forth, and we heard lots of them, unfortunately, a lot of them. That goes on, and as these adult conversations go on, Jennifer starts providing information telling Darrin that she's actually not just not happy in the marriage, but she's being abused in the marriage, that Jamie is treating her very badly in the sexual nature, and it gets worse. It starts involving other people, and that Darrin's humiliation and everything else, and then in some twisted way, Jennifer also creates emails for these other players in her circle of friends and acquaintances. And these deliberation time, we're at 9 minutes 52 seconds, and we're watching the button right there. That's the button. The light comes on when they have a question or they have an answer. I guess that's the reset button right next to it too. That's really cool. I like that. So Jennifer creates these emails and says, and the emails are for Rob, who's a family friend, real guy. Okay, real guy, uses the real name, uses his real birth date in part of his email address. It creates this Rob email and starts and sends this to. She creates the Jamie email. She creates an email for her husband, and she also eventually, I believe, creates an email, or at least a person named Jeremy, who is also a real person. So she starts acting like these people and interacting with Darrin via email, via text message, never over the phone. But so she's playing 3 people in this twisted circle, alleging abuse that was not taking place. There was zero evidence that it was taking place, and she's playing him. She asks early on when Darrin first reconnects with her, about his TBI, and what's it like? How bad is it? Send me your medical records. She has familiarity in this field. It's almost like she's stalking her mark, and he was. Call him gullible, call him, he could have, literally the TBI could have affected how he thought and led to this, but whatever it was, when Jennifer responded to his just reach out, calling for something, he wanted something normal back in his life, from the military times really, and before, she responded and he fell for it. head over heels, and the blinders came on. Boom. And all he could see was Jennifer and what Jennifer was telling him. And he says, I believed it. I believed everything she told me. And they said, you should have stopped. Why didn't you call the police? And well, Jennifer told him not to. Jennifer said, if you call, it's going to be worse for me. If you do this, it will be bad for Amber. Amber was in the courtroom today. She's been pretty much in trial, I think, the entire time this week. But that's her adult daughter. I think she's over 21 now. But it'll be bad for Amber. It would be embarrassing for her. Please don't do that. Instead, talk to Rob. Here's his email. And the Rob was actually Jennifer. And so she's manipulating this, and every time he gets ramped up and says, I'm going to call the police, it's like Rob's like, I'll take care of it. I'll talk to him. I'll call. And so this game is played along, and I have to admit, the average person looks at this and says, something don't smell right. It's something's wrong here. This is not what it seems. It just doesn't pass the sniff test. But looking at it from Darrin's perspective, if we believe what he says about how his TBI changed him, how how crushed and broken he was from different events in his life, and he actually believed Jennifer, I can see what they're saying. Now, I've already said I still think he's guilty. He's guilty because I do not see the imminent threat to Jennifer. I do not see that at that moment he had to fire. Look at a police officer, because the standard's virtually the same for a police officer to be able to fire in the line of duty and shoot somebody. The threat has to be there. And it's not that, hey, next week they say they're going to commit this crime, or later today they say they're going to commit this crime. So we're, pre-crimes here, we'll just take him out and solve the problem. It doesn't work that there has to be that imminent threat. If somebody is holding a firearm and it's down at their side, even though they're holding the firearm, the police generally, they can't fire at them. They can't say, well, there's the danger, pow. It doesn't work that way. It has to be very, very imminent. I don't see that. So I think the jury is going to have to find him guilty there. I do think it'll be a quick verdict. We'll watch that button. I'm sure we're going to see it when it lights up. Okay. As far as what else do we need to know? Skipping all the salacious details, and there were tons. In the course of this, there is some indication, defense talked about this, that Jennifer talked him into an interest in a certain type of adult sexual behavior. There's Google shopping carts, I guess, or Amazon shopping carts of things that were purchased, and we got to see all the pictures and the colors and varieties of that as well. So there's a lot of that stuff, but that really isn't the facts of the case. It's very, very, a tiny bit, just the knowledge that occurred and how it occurred is important, but it's not the facts of the case. I think the facts are much simpler, and it boils down, and it was, I think, really presented very well in the closings about how this went. The facts of whether or not Darrin shot Jamie, not disputed. Even though he's pleading not guilty, he pled not guilty at the beginning of this trial. His lawyer at the very beginning said, "Hey, he did it. We're not saying he didn't do it. This isn't a whodunit case." Okay, so the evidence that came through. One of the reasons the court went so quickly through this trial was because there was no objections from defense. There was nothing. It was like everything that came in is like, yeah, we're fine with that. Yep, yeah, we're good with that evidence. Yep, no objections, and it basically was just like rubber stamp. Yep, put it in, pile up the evidence. It's fine. We're not fighting that. All we're fighting is that Darrin was in a different mindset. That when he reacted, that he actually thought she was in danger. If they've successfully done that, there's a chance at a not guilty. I doubt it. I think you've got a better chance of a hung jury than a not guilty. Let's see, Matthew Harris. Yes, that's usually the case, but most of you watched my unarmed client get murdered at a child custody exchange, and the murdered client claimed self-defense. I should have read that timingly. I forgot what I was talking about when you posted that. Let's see. So nice to have your courthouse back. Thank you to all the people who've both gifted memberships, CG in Texas. I see those as well. The gifted, the re-ups. Your support means the world to me. It makes it possible for me to do what I do. If you do like what I do, I thank you for supporting me. That helps a ton. And Mrs. R.A. as well. She's very grateful. He's guilty. He's sad. It is sad. There's no question. This guy, he has a Purple Heart. He has 2 Bronze Stars. He's clearly a decorated veteran. He deserves some respect for his service. A couple of you, also veterans in chat, really taking issue to how much his service is being presented as a defense, and I hear that. And having not served myself, I can't say you're right or wrong there. I mean, you have a place to stand at a vantage point that I do not. I've never been in that situation where I've signed my name on the line and turned my life over to the government and said, I'll go. I'll be the guy on the front line if you need me. I'll follow those orders. It's a different class of people that do that. And honestly, signing up to do that is one thing, and then being deployed, that changes you. The being out there and seeing, having to take a life in defense of the country, or seeing somebody else, a soldier in arms next to you fall in battle, or a roadside bomb, that's, you can't just come home and go back to being the same person again. Yeah, just interesting stuff. Okay. All right, respect for service, but I respect the morality of life. BBE Cat and Animal Lover, I agree. I don't think the jury can look at this and say, yeah, he was a veteran, decorated veteran, not guilty. I don't think they'll do that. Can we please request a jury call button on all trials? Yes, please. The one thing we've loved about this trial is the video. The judge has really given the camera crew free reign over the courthouse. The only thing we have not seen, and it's been consistent, is we have not seen the jury, even though almost every judge says don't show the jury. Sometimes they get shown. This one has not. It's been very good, and we've been able to see close-ups of the defendant, even the defendant's hands when he's testifying, close-ups looking for tears when he's being emotional, because the defendant did take the stand in this one. He testified in his own defense, to my surprise, but I think he did the right thing, and he actually held his own pretty well under that cross-examination from that second prosecutor, the spicy one at the end. She was like that directly to him for a long time. It was crazy. Let's see. I'm going to turn the sound effects on because I don't think I will be able to hear them. It's good. The button is cool. I think all the courts pretty much have a version of this. Some are a little less technical, and the jury knocks on the door or slips a paper under the door to the bailiff. But this will be cool. We are right now 18 minutes and 40 seconds into the verdict watch. I still need to design. What did I just hear? I don't know. Okay. I thought the audio was working for a second, but it's not. Oh, that's what I heard. It's the sound effects. Let's see. Gailey May, woohoo, missed you guys this week. Love you too. Thank you back. It's awesome to have you here. He held his own, but in my opinion, it didn't help his case as far as the defendant testifying himself. I was really worried when he started testifying because he couldn't stop talking. He wanted to talk and talk and talk, and one question led to 5 minutes of answers. And I thought this is going to be disastrous on cross because they're going to get him to say some things that they, are not what they want. Let's see. Trying to fix our timer here. Just 1 second. Let's see, timer. We're almost up to 20 minutes here. No light yet, but just one moment here. We'll get this fixed. Box 2, size, large. Box 1. There we go. We'll get the timer on the screen here for you. Just 1 second.
Because he's the guy.
Because I'm the guy. Okay, sorry, I can show you what I'm doing if that makes it a little more interesting. I have to crop manually, just reshape everything. Cut off the top here. This is our verdict watch. Even it up a little bit for all you OCD fans. And then we'll put it down in the corner where it belongs. There we go. There we go. There's our verdict watch timer. All right. Sorry, I've been ignoring chat a little bit. I do apologize for that. Let's see, what questions or input do you guys have? I realized a lot of you have missed this case, and it was, aside from the salacious stuff, which honestly I could do without. I don't like that. I think that's a distraction to the trial, and it could have been glossed over and had the same value for the jury. But aside from that, let's see. Some of you have been watching another trial because, as always, there's always two good trials on at once. Brandy had a great trial. Alternate jurors had a great trial. I think we had a great trial aside from the salacious stuff. But I'd love to fill you in with any details if you'd like about this trial, if I can help. Let's see. Thank you for the recap. Hey, Judy, you're welcome. Missed you guys this week while watching Shabusiness. That's awesome. I was able to pop in a couple times and like the stream for Brandy, and generally it was like the muting moments from yesterday. I'd pop in and something would come up on Brandy's channel. I was like, all right, I'm out. La 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 la. You know? But Mrs. R.A. just delivered an icy glass of pink lemonade. Mm-hmm. Okay, we want to let me move this out of the way before I start typing. See, how would Darrin think Amber wouldn't notice the marks on Jennifer? Tilted Tiara, that's a great question. Prosecution brought that up. Basically said they live in a small house. They live together. She's almost an adult child. I think she was about 18 at the time. You're saying all this happened and nobody saw anything. Amber didn't see anything wrong, didn't hear anything. There was no suspicion there. It didn't add up very well. But Darrin had this blank stare. Yeah, that's what I believe, and adamant about that. And I have to admit that when Darrin was testifying, and I'd love to see maybe Dr. G on this, looking specifically at Darrin's testimony for believability factors in several instances. And there were 2 points in his testimony where I thought he was not telling the truth. And both of them, he looked down and he closed his eyes and answered, and then looked up. And it was almost like his behavior shifted completely. And he gave the answer, and then he looked up, and it was like, whoa. I'm not huge into behavior analyst as saying, whatever your body says is the actual truth. But it was enough of a change in behavior that I said that needs to be looked at just a little bit. Hey, Miss Zari, how are you doing? I put it over here so I can type. I want to get Recovery Addict on one of those snazzy jury call buttons for the buffer. Greeners, this might actually be a possibility. Let's see. I would just need a smart light, and it would be triggered by a command. I've already got the tools in place. I just need a smart light, smarter than the lights behind my television. But we could do that. It would be like a hot light to my desk for when I need urgently to hear a message from the mods. Can you explain the charges and possible sentences? Momo Shark, from what I've heard, the max, even though Texas is a death penalty state, they're not pushing for the death penalty here, but the penalty is happening in the penalty phase of the trial. So it's sort of not been talked about because the jury right now is not supposed to consider what the possible penalties are in their deliberation of the verdict. Pinned comment no longer needed. Thank you very much for that one. I'll clear that one out. Samantha, thank you. So basically he's charged with murder. There's the buffer sound. Let's see. Stream title update. Thank you. I will do that. Let's see. I will put it at the front. Bing, bing, bing. Verdict watch. Day 4. Take morning out because it's going to be an all-day thing. Okay, title's updated. Thank you for that, Weather Watch. Thomas, for those that don't know, Weather Watch is Thomas. He and I have a podcast, and it's going to be on tonight at 8 p.m. It's going to be a lot of fun. So please, it'll be on this channel if you like something a little lighter than trial, and occasionally we talk about what happens in court during the week. But we talk about some fun stuff. It's live, just like this. Your interaction is very much appreciated and welcomed. Okay, why do people keep calling and texting? They know I'm on Verdict Watch. I don't know. How rude. How rude. That's all I'll say. That people just don't understand. I'm going to move that just a tiny bit. There we go. Okay. What was the question about the charges? The charges he's facing right now, Darrin's facing, is basically just a murder charge. And there could be lesser includeds. Honestly, I was having a hard time hearing. Still no light. I was having a hard time hearing the audio at that time. So if there was lesser included spelled out to the jury, I didn't hear it. It sounds like they just have a not guilty, a guilty as charged, or what was the third one? It's just one of the two. They're mutually exclusive. Was there anything lesser included read in there? Can we get a poll of room? Bella, yeah, we did a poll previously. We came back split, thinking that there might be lesser included. It's about 45% said that he would be found guilty as charged. 45% said guilty of lesser included, and then the remaining percentages were hung jury, basically. Okay, why have I never been invited to call? Interesting. Purple Haze. Invited to call the channel. I haven't really opened up the phone lines as far as that goes right now. If you've got something really pertinent you'd like to share, type !burner in chat like Greeners did right here, and the phone number pops up. I do ask that we try to keep it, even though the content was not necessarily family friendly, not even YouTube friendly. We ask that we keep our comments respectful in chat over the phone. Just we're not here to call names or shout. But if you do have an opinion that's contrary to mine, I'd like to hear it. I become smarter from listening to you guys and hearing your perspectives. Let's see who it is here. Somebody's on the phone. If I can get there. Come on.
Call from Ryan.
Ryan, Snapple Apple. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. An update to the girl that was in Montana is they've made an arrest of a gentleman that was in an apartment. So we might actually have.
Okay, for those that missed this, this is Ryan Snapple Apple. He is one of our addicts and court watchers. He's been in court for us, observing and giving feedback as to what's actually happening in the trial we're following. He was not here in this trial, but the other day, yesterday or the day before, I forget which one, Ryan, you told us about a case where there was a girl who had been missing, basically ran away at around 14, and go ahead.
Was missing since 2019. She was a 14-year-old girl who was on the autism spectrum. It was believed that she was lured away from her home, and she was found Wednesday, I believe it was. And she said, she just wanted to be taken off the missing persons list, that she was okay, and
she had just turned 18, basically. So she was now an adult, and now she walks into the police station and says, by the way, I'm here. Stop looking. Sorry, I talked over you, Ryan. I apologize.
Oh, sorry. She's almost 19. I looked up her date of birth, and she'll be 19 in September.
Yeah.
And might have a trial.
Yeah, so basically with a runaway at age 14, there's a very good chance that she did not just live on her own and survive, and there's a very high chance that some sort of crime was committed, probably against her or in the hiding her or trafficking her, if that was something that happened. There's a high chance that there was a crime committed. Ryan, you're saying they've now arrested somebody.
Taking a minor across state lines alone without the parents' consent.
That's kidnapping.
Is
yeah. So even if the minor is willing, they're not of an age to consent themselves for that, and so there's like statutory definitions that fall into play. So we'll keep an eye on that one, Ryan. Thank you very much for the update. Looks like the police were very quick in making that arrest. I'm guessing that they made an arrest with a charge to hold him, and just like we saw in some of the other cases, that took a long time to solve. The charges will probably evolve and expand as time goes on, and they fill out their investigation, find out the full scope of what happened.
Exactly, Sunny. I saw Sunny just commented, Alicia Navarro. Yeah, the mother worked very hard to find her. She worked actually with Sarah Attorney to get billboards in the county we live in.
Yes, so Sarah Turney is the sister of the stepdaughter, the trial we followed last time, the stepdaughter that went missing with a similar situation, with a note saying I'm running away, and was not seen again. The previous trial we followed. But great stuff, Ryan. Thank you so much. I can't wait to get further updates and see how that develops.
And don't forget to get lunch.
Don't forget to get lunch. Thank you. I appreciate that. Mrs. Ari brought me basically junk food. I've got like Quaker Oats cereal and some fruit snacks and and lemonade. It's gonna be. I'm surviving on sugar today, is what I'm doing. But thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate it. It's always good to hear from you.
You too. Have a great day, everybody.
All right. See you. All right, Ryan's awesome. Let's see. During Verdict Watch, the phone is open a little bit. If you have something to add or question about this case, I know a lot of you are walking in saying, "What did I miss?" You know, I turned clicked the Recovery Addict channel. It popped up, and the prosecutor was saying, something crazy that got my attention. Yeah, there was some crazy stuff. Does jury get a lunch break? The judge has said, wishful thinking, that it's pretty much on their schedule now, that they are going to, They call the shots. They said, if you want to go to lunch right now, you can. If you want to start deliberating immediately, you can. The judge is going to determine when the jury stops, or at least have some input on when the jury stops, because obviously the courthouse isn't open 24/7. They need to have bailiffs there. They need to ensure the safety of the jury and the integrity of the jury, that it's not compromised. And so they have to stay within like business hours for the most part. But other than that, they can really call their own shots for a little bit. Yay for fruit snacks, says Robin Hood. They're delicious. I haven't eaten any yet. Yes, we are on tonight. We'll have the podcast tonight. It's going to be fantastic. Looking forward to that. I'm watching for that light. It's going to come on. 32 minutes of deliberation. Fun facts about this case. The judge everything was fast. The entire schedule was fast. Any sidebars were quick. There was only 1 or 2 times in the entire trial that the judge said, "Hey, jury, can you step out for a minute? We have to do something." Any sort of work that required the jury not to be present, they sort of worked that into before they came in the morning or after in the evening. So it was a very efficient use of courtroom time and the jury's time, honestly, because the whole case has taken a week. We started this on Monday. But the judge also, he has short lunch times. He gives them 45 minutes, and that's it. And so it's really quick, eat and go, and back to work. So we've been very, we've been, I'd say, blessed with a quick trial that way.
Purple Haze.
Hey, Purple Haze, this is Recovery Addict. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, it is Friday. I guess Passionate Friday is what they call it on this trial, but usually we called it No Pants Friday. So I'm wearing shorts, enjoying a nice fan on me, and ready for the weekend.
Well,
but other than that,
well, what is the temp there? Can I ask you?
Outside, it is 91. Inside, it is 90. So it's
why
warm.
You don't have air?
I need to get it fixed. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, I just wanted to say I've got an extensive career in corrections, antisocial behavior, with adults and juveniles, and I tend to go on what I see. When you talk about behavioral, okay,
yeah, and you see these cases, and I've only been watching you for a year, I bet. And now I'm a member, though. And I appreciate your calm, your voice, and you like to keep it medium. I do appreciate that. But when people want to speak up, like, say, an Ivan, yeah,
and he's just speaking his mind, and I do appreciate everyone's comments, everyone's. But I do think we need to keep it real here. With this case here, he was making conscious decisions, Yeah. Do you agree with that?
I do. I've told you, I believe he's guilty. I mean, I can see the argument they put together. The theory of defense is logical. It's one that I can follow and say, that doesn't, that's outlandish. It's not. I can see that all the pieces can fit together the way the defense says it, except for the immediacy. And I mean, I can also see the state side. Look, there's evidence to support that the state says, yeah, this looks like they were playing this sick little game back and forth with the email, pretending to be other people, and this whole little fantasy world that they'd created. I can see it both ways.
Yeah. It didn't seem impulsive to me.
Yeah. As far as Darrin's,
I really appreciate your content and the way you run your channel. I'm a member now, and I think you're excellent, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your input. As we have other cases that play into your expertise, I'd love to, if you've got some insights and things that can help us understand a little better. Because honestly, that's how
I have a little more insight on juvenile behavior than adult, because I only have about 10 years with adults, and that deals with schizophrenia. I mean, you can run the gamut on that, but not a lot of counseling with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Purple Haze,
you're welcome to have my number, or whatever you need.
Yeah, I've got you here on the caller radio. I won't show anyone what it is, but thank you. If you can send me a text as well, just with your YouTube name to the burner phone, that way it's easier for me to build the contact and be able to find you when I need you a little bit better. But I appreciate you being here. Honestly, the dialogue we've had on this channel has been very interesting and informative for all of us. And
I got to tell you, everyone in chat overall, 99% are very respectful.
This is a good group. We love true crime, and even though we've done polls, we're basically 50-50 split sometimes on these trials. So we're on both sides of the spectrum, and I sometimes I come back and my opinion is different than most of chat, and that's okay. The funny thing is, there are about 1 million ways we could divide our community, and ways we're different, things we don't have in common, where we can talk all day about our differences, but we can have those differences and still have a civil dialogue. We can have those differences and still learn from each other and listen and enjoy spending time together. And that's what is really cool about this.
That's what I love about your channel, is it feels like it's an open environment where no matter what side you're on, you can still express it without feeling shame, And I got to tell you, you've done it. You have arrived. This is your niche.
I tell you, I do love it. This is a job for me. This is the only thing I do for income to provide for my family. Hopefully we'll have an Airbnb here in the next month or two, and that might add to it. But I love it. I've never had a job that I've enjoyed as much as this. Waking up every morning, looking forward to sitting down, turn on the camera, and looking at chat and just having some great conversations and staying up to date.
That honestly makes me feel good. And if you're ever in Minnesota, we'll go walleye fishing and be on a lake. Okay.
Oh, man. Let's make it be winter so I can ice fish. I miss that so badly.
Oh yeah, you've been ice fishing?
I love it. There's no ice here in North Carolina, at least not enough that I would want to walk on it and drill a hole. But
a lot of people I talked to down south, they couldn't imagine being on a frozen lake.
My wife is one of those. I took her out once early in our dating experience, and if I had taken her again, we would not be married. But
all right,
thank you, my friend.
You're wonderful, and have a good show today, man. And
thank you.
I really respect you. Okay,
I appreciate that. Purple Haze, thank you for calling in. Good to connect with you.
You bet.
We'll
Bye.
see you. Bye. Awesome. Thank you very much. Wonderful call. I thought this was your hobby, says Rudy. It was my hobby, but for those that haven't heard the story, I need to do it. Angie, thanks for reminding me. First, a couple things. Don't let me forget. I need to tell you how this hobby became my job, and I also need to do a poll, which if I do the poll first. And Megan, by the way, thank you. Good to have a Green Courthouse by your name. Thanks for your continued support of the channel. As far as the terminology on the poll, the jury's deliberating, so we're basically going to ask, do you want to do a time on the verdict, or do you want to, we've already sort of asked on the results, and most of us feel there's going to be a guilty, either a guilty or a lesser included. If there is a lesser included, an option. Let's see. What trial am I thinking of covering next? I would love to cover the Vallow sentencing, if that's available. I think that happens on Monday. That's out of Idaho. I'd also love to cover Vallow's trial in Arizona. I think the coverage of that trial in Arizona would be significantly different than how it was handled in Idaho, and I'd like to see that if that moves forward. I don't even know the dates on that one. Let's see. So help me with the poll here. Who wants to help me? Are we doing a jury deliberation time? Because right now, obviously, 40 minutes roughly. Do you ever get your messages on the burner phone? If not, delete all messages and start again. Debbie, I I do apologize. As you know, Debbie, you've been here a very long time. The yellow courthouse indicates. Initially I responded to every single message, every single phone call, and I wanted to keep that as long as I could. I get hundreds and hundreds of messages a day now. The burner phone is very difficult to keep up with, and I try. Sometimes I'm up late at night responding. You guys know when you get like a 2 a.m. text from me. I'm just trying to catch up with some of the calls or some of the texts on the burner phone. I do like that you're able to reach me, but I almost now I have to use it as just like a way to communicate when we're live, for you to say something in chat and say, hey, I'll send it to the burner phone, or here's a link in the burner phone. It's hard for me to stay up to date. It's sad that that's the case. At the same time, it's also fun and cool that the channel grew to this point. Okay, poll. Don't let me forget. Poll. How long will the jury deliberate? We're going to do that. Okay. I'm watching that light as we talk here. Let's see. We're going to have... It's going to be on here, but it's less than 2 hours because we're almost 1 hour in already. 2 to 4 hours. I think 6 hours, or I'll say 4 to 8. That'll just be today, one day. And the last option is book your hotel rooms. Okay, there we go. So, okay, polls up on jury deliberation time right now. Just to see how long this will take. And the light's not on yet, so anything could happen. I only text when I see something really interesting, says Tag, like that near miss cat hidden cop, or there's that info I think you might like to hear. I appreciate that. I love all the texts, and I try to read and stay up to date on all of them, even if I can't respond to everyone. I love that there's a way for you to contact me, because this community is not, I mean, this is not the preacher in church, giving a sermon and then going home. I like the give and take. I don't have all the information. I'm not coming up here and hitting the live button to tell you, let me inform you about what is happening. A lot of times I'm coming into court and saying, help me understand what, somebody who's been here, what are we dealing with, or how does this work? We might have Matthew Harris come in and teach me. I've got a shirt he sent me that says, everything I know about law, I learned from Matthew Harris Law, which is so true, because I knew very little starting this channel, and I've learned so much, not just from him, but from all of you and from your experiences, and you sharing that here on the channel, whether it's on the phone, on the burner phone, and through text or in chat. Nurse for God says, I bet it's going to be hung. Poll's still going right now if you're able to see it. Oh, there's Matthew Harris. Matthew, you put out a new video yesterday, right? I was looking. Was this the one about registering one-night stands? Is that the latest video? It's sort of, when I look on my phone, it's hard for me to see the date that the shorts were posted. I think it was a short video yesterday that was posted. But let me know. Some devices don't show the poll. I do apologize. I wish I knew the secret for making it work. Don't have a police chase queued up right now. If one happens, I tend to like the police chases live when they're literally breaking news, as opposed to some old ones. Although, like the school bus chase, we didn't watch live, but that was still well worth going back for. Golden Girl with the Golden Courthouse says, was watching Shabizzas and my daughter has banned me from watching anyone other than the RA. I'm back to the best place to watch trials. That's sad. I love Brandy. I love Brandy's channel. She does such an amazing job. I'd encourage you to, I love that you're here, but I encourage you, there are so many great YouTubers out there, great individuals, and whether they're in LawTube or in the fringes of LawTube, where I sort of reside, there's some amazing people that are putting out some great content that is very insightful. And as I've told Brandy and others, there will probably be a day where we're covering the same trial, where you can either get your female commentator or your male commentator, and we're covering the exact same thing. It's going to happen. It will happen. But the internet is big enough for both of us, and in our community, although there's a lot of crossover, we're different a little bit. The way Brandy covers something is different than the way I do, and so feel free to find the place that works for you. Maybe this trial you're with Brandy, and next trial you're with me. That's awesome. So I'd encourage you to not get so narrow-minded that you don't watch anyone else. I've learned so much from other people. It would be a shame for me to ask you to only watch me. That's just not how it works. Plus, you need to go to Matthew Harris's channel and watch his videos and take his law poll every day so you can become smart like him. Rudy says, I voted wrong. I thought they had another work day to deliberate before the weekend. Let's see, next week we have a huge video coming out. It's a collab with the big YouTuber, Cartnarks Get Lawyered. Oh, Cartnarks. I've seen this one. Matthew, I realize I'm a little bit late announcing this and everyone has already talked about it, but Matthew hit a benchmark, I think this week, on his YouTube channel, which is just amazing. He hit 1 million views. 1 million views is a huge benchmark, and you don't hit that on accident. You don't hit that number just by putting out junky videos. Matthew has had just amazing quality, consistent content. And if you're not following his channel, click the link. One of our mods can put the link up in chat, but click the link and give him a follow. It's well worth it. Michelle Phillips from North Carolina says, yay, thank you to Nurse for God for my gifted membership renewal today. It's awesome, Michelle. Great to have you here from a fellow North Carolinian, also in green. Thank you, Dr. Docklit. Appreciate the support for both our channels. Autocorrect sucks. I agree on this part. I agree. Okay. Yeah, our views are different. We've come to different conclusions on trials. Like things she's watched, I've felt the opposite side of, and I don't even know if we're even on the same page politically. but she does such a good job, and honestly, Brandy excels in so many ways on YouTube that I struggle. I'm so jealous of her ability to A, make a chart that is legible and informative, and B, just be able to organize data and break things down. It's good stuff. Okay, so thank you, Melody, for bringing us around. How did your hobby become your job? I went to school for communications, electronic media. So I've worked with the news. I've worked with the police, filming for them. I've filmed for just about everything from community TV channels to race car teams, and reality television. I've done all sorts of filming work and loved it, and loved that live environment where you don't get second chances, where you have to get the shot right, or roll with whatever you got. And so I like that adrenaline rush of, the red light comes on and you have to perform. So that's cool. I went to school for that. That honestly, working in the news media, which I thought wanted to be my job, it doesn't pay very well. The money's not there unless you're, the big anchor on the news desk in the evening, or the weatherman. The weatherman gets paid really well. But unless you're that person, it's hard to make a living and support a family on. And it's also a rough life time wise. You might get just a crappy schedule where you have to be working weekends and evenings, and you miss a lot of things. So I ended up going into IT and worked for the federal government as a contractor, doing just some fun work with some amazing people. Some of them are here in chat as well that I met through my work, or worked with and knew before. There's a lot that way. Hang on. Work from Home LLC Tina says, welcome to the gallery. Awesome. I love your name. I also work from home. Love it. Thank you very much for your support. And Mindy Carroll as well. Thank you for becoming a member. That is awesome to see your names in green. Your courthouse is blue for now, but not for long. We do have some new apparel that celebrates the color progression of the membership icon by your name. If you want to see it, just type !uniform in chat, and it'll give you the link for that. Anyway, so I went into IT, and it paid very well. It was a great job. Loved it. It spent, I don't know how long, it was 10 years or so working through the DoD as a contractor, and it was great fun. Actually, ended up in a position where my job was to transition my workload away from the government environment that I was working in. So my job was to get rid of my job. And we completed that job successfully, which means I worked myself out of a job. And then as I tried to look for another job along the same field, I really wanted to be here in North Carolina, which I love. I love being here. I love the weather, everything except for the fact there's no ice fishing. It's beautiful. My family likes it. It was good. And I felt that this is where I needed to be. And all the jobs wanted me to go to Washington, D.C. or down to Florida or to Colorado or back to Utah where I had just started. And after about 7 months of no job and no prospects on the horizon, it was a little demoralizing, and I decided to do something I liked just as a pickup. And it was the middle of the Darryl Brooks case, and I set up my gear, which I had assembled over the years from what I'd gone to school for and what I liked doing as a hobby, just making videos, and I assembled all this gear, pieced it together, and I went live, and we watched the Darryl Brooks trial together. And we had 13 people there that day, and it was the most incredible day. I loved it. Some of those 13 people, many of those 13 people are still here in the group. And that was, I'm very new at this, Taylor. I just started, during the Darryl Brooks trial, so the fall of last year. And I did that, and day 2 we had 45 people. Day 3 we had 375 or something like that. Day 4 we had 13,000 people view the stream during that time, and I thought, whoa, maybe there's something here. In that day 4, I met all of YouTube's monetization metrics. We had over 5,000 watch hours, and we got over 1,000 subscribers to the channel, and it exploded. And that's not how YouTube works normally. Usually you put in like a year before people really start seeing your videos, and then it slowly grows. And it's not uncommon to have...
Rough, my human is confusing me. She switches channels. I told her to stay here, but she doesn't follow commands very well. Rough paw prints.
Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate that. Buttercup is the dog who's typing there. Very smart dog. Almost like the mascot of the channel. Anyway, so YouTube, yes, and day 5 plus you got demonetized. We've had some trials because I'm brand new. Honestly, I've had to learn by trial and error, and I don't know everything, and I still don't. And I tell my mods this, and I'll tell you this: I don't know what I'm doing, and if I'm doing something wrong, I'd love for you to tell me or give me ideas. I can't obviously follow all the advice I get, because I do get quite a bit, and some of it is mutually exclusive. But I try every day to just make it a little bit better and learn something else. One of the things I love doing is I love improving the audio. So if we get a court case where there's an air conditioner in the background that's just making ridiculous amounts of noise, or there's multiple feeds available, but either one of them are poor on their own, I can combine things. I can do things of a technical nature to make it more enjoyable for you to watch and more informative for you to watch the trial. And so I like to do a lot of that, and just do it my own way. Anyway, it was it's a lot of fun. It's taken off. We're at 22,700 subscribers now, and it's the most fun I've ever had at work. It really is. And it's what surprised me and what has been most rewarding is the community I discovered. I would not say I built the community, because you guys are already out here. Most of you have much more time, even experience, just watching true crime than I do. And so I discovered many of you, and you guys found me and brought all the goodness from the true crime community together, and it's just been a blast. And then meeting just incredible people. First of all, our mods, all of them as we met together, as well as just some of the informative people who have helped the channel, both like Matthew Harris, who's a mod as well. Great advice from pretty much the get-go. He was early on. He was here with the channel. It's been awesome. We've got Nicole Goodman out in California, another lawyer who's helped out, and both educating me and providing commentary and interviews and things like that. Dr. G has been awesome and a big support as well. So, can you say something? Of course you can say something. You want to call in, or do you want to say it in chat? Can we be notified when the verdict comes in? Casey, right now, the center of the screen, that light you see is the call button for the jury. If that lights up, the jury either has a question or they have reached a verdict. So that is how we're going to be notified. As far as notified on YouTube, to notify you, I would have to first of all, you'd have to be subscribed and have to have the bell rung on my channel to be notified of a new thing. And what I would do is I would put out a community post, which YouTube sometimes notifies you about and sometimes doesn't. And I wish there was a more reliable way. But and I'd also have to stop this live stream and restart it for a notification. Oh, the cameraman zooming in. It's like they're listening to us. Look at that very sharp focus. Yeah. It's actually a little out of focus now. Let's see if they fix it. The focus is just before the there it is. Focus is perfect. The cameraman is doing a great job. That is awesome. Cameraman, if you can hear me, just nod the camera up and down slightly. Just a tiny bit. Let's see if this works here. Matthew Harris Law Firm found me. I did not find him. Nah. He was browsing around on YouTube. He was already on YouTube and does many things very well. He's actually given me some free advice on how to improve my channel. The reason I have playlists is because of him. Susan says, I'm retired after 25 years with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, so I tend to be biased in these cases. I appreciate seeing all sides for this group. That is awesome, Susan. I recognize that oftentimes I come in with a bias, and it's nice to have somebody be able to look at this from an outside perspective and set it straight for me. Let's see. Kitty Kitty Bang Bang. First day I was here, Ivan's little dog was critical. Felt the goodness here. That was a sad time. Ivan's been a great supporter of the channel. I was actually talking to him on the phone late last night. Ivan's a good friend. I really like him. But he's also I think he's still planning on starting a podcast. We'll see how this goes. But he's got that in the works. Jamie says, I found you on accident. I watched Charles from LNC and thought I clicked on LNC trial. And what is this? Never went back. Jamie, this is funny because during the Zachariah Anderson trial, the Judge Schroeder in that trial, at one point during the trial, there was a point where the prosecutor was accused of mouthing words or feeding lines to a witness. And the judge had requested the camera in the courtroom to provide the video that they had taken of that happening. And they provided the video, but it was sort of cut off. It was clipped. And so the judge says, I want to see what happened before that. And it turns out that, he had to request it differently. And so instead he just pulled up the live stream to look at what happened before that. And he pulled up my live stream. So here he is in court. He pulls up my live stream, and I'm commentating, doing what I'm doing right now. And I was a little bit animated at the time, and say this is what needs to happen. And I was probably wrong, but I was running my mouth and saying what I thought, and suddenly I hear myself as I'm listening to court, and I hear myself through the courtroom speakers, and so at that point that's where we get this little soundbite, and I'm going to play it for you right here. 9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addicts live stream in their court right here.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case.
So I was saying the fireworks are not done. This is not over. And Judge Schroeder says, now we're getting commentary on the case, because he was listening to me. Turns out he kept listening to me and kept watching chat as he's watching chat go up on the screen and watching my channel, and even responded when we said, Judge, if you can hear this, scratch your head. And he did. And it's like, whoa. So yeah, he also found us by accident. So I guess Judge Schroeder is a fan as well. He hasn't come out and announced it yet, though. Okay, let's see. Is Brandy back in chat? I thought she was going to go visit with family. Is she here? Let's see. So yeah, that was a fun little soundbite. My reaction was priceless. I was initially mortified when I heard this. I thought, oh no, because the judge had just ordered the jury to come back in the courtroom. I'm like, what if whatever I say taints the jury, taints the pool? And I'm like, oh no. And I just sat there silent for a while until I realized the judge had turned down the audio on his laptop. I'm like, oh my goodness, that just happened. Regina Crawford, welcome to the gallery. Thank you so much for becoming a new member. Membership has its perks, not just the blue courthouse by your name, but make sure you type !seat in chat and take your reserved seat in the gallery. You don't have to sit behind anyone. You get a front row seat in court. That works anytime we are live streaming, as long as I've got the buttons pressed correctly on my side. I covered my mouth. I did. I didn't know what to say. It was Just one more moment that got clipped and went viral on TikTok. Let's see. I saw you comment on the stream day 2. Bless your heart. Laughter's the best medicine. It was a fun, kind of scary day. Yeah, it was. And honestly, since that day, we actually interviewed Solomon Anderson, who is I believe a really nice guy. I really respect him, even though I do have a different opinion on some things than he does, and I've come to a different conclusion than he did. I brought him on the channel. It was nice of him to come on, even though I told him up front. I said I disagree with you. First of all, I agree with the outcome with the jury, but I'd like to hear your side, and I let him talk quite a bit. I didn't cut him off and just let him speak, and it was very insightful for me. I learned a lot, and if anything, I came out of that thinking, I was much more inclined that maybe this case needs to be retried. I don't think the jury made the wrong decision based on what they heard, but I do think that there was some stuff in that case. There were so many times that should have ended in mistrial, and it didn't. And it seems like that it needs. If someone's going to be put away for the length of time that he was, that you should have the process be very clean and clear, and not have it muddled and cloudy. And I think what we ended up with that case was it was muddled and cloudy. But we've had some great interviews as well. Nicole Mobley from the Letitia Stout case, her neighbor, being able to get her to come on. She has the worst internet in the world, unfortunately, but it was nice to talk to her. She's been on here and on the other LawTube channels as well. Susan, welcome to the gallery. Good to see the courthouse color changed by your name as well. Thank you very much for your support. Front row circle is now 50 miles radius. Cindy's crazy. It's a big front row. It helps that it's virtual. Let's see. The video is on Recovery Addict homepage. Definitely worth a watch. It is. It's up there, sir. Can we get a follow-up with Solomon? I don't know what he would want to share. Honestly, I have Rebecca, by the way, I think this is not the dog. I think it's Rebecca typing here. My opinion hasn't changed, other than that I feel more inclined now that there should be a retrial, that he should get a redo, because of the things that were done in court where it should have ended in a mistrial and didn't. I think, if anything, the judge erred on those decisions to claw that case from over the edge of the cliff, the mistrial cliff, that we should have gone off the mistrial cliff and collapsed and crashed and burnt, and mid-flight, as we were falling down, somehow we got rescued back up onto the top. Let's see. The front row uses TARDIS technology. We have all the cool tech here. We're a group that agrees to disagree, and when we laugh together seconds later, we do. We try to present all the opinions respectfully, and that's awesome. It was a great interview, but I stand by my decision. That's how I'd say. I have to say I respect Solomon a lot, even though I disagree with some of his conclusions. I respect him a lot. I did also communicate with why can't I remember her name? The witness, the girlfriend of Rosalio. Why did I just have a brain cramp? I can't remember her name. I invited her to come on as well and tell her side as well, because in that case, like most cases, a lot of the evidence or a lot of the facts of the case ended up not being admissible in court for one or just not brought up for one reason or another. And so to fill up that case and fill it out and get a truer picture, I wanted to get her. Sadie, thank you very much. I wanted to welcome her on as well. She chose not to at this point. I said, if that changes, please reach out to me. We'd like to do that. But let's see. I found this channel from a Court TV group on Facebook. I prefer this channel over LNC Court TV any day. I will say those two companies provide a great service. They really do, and I like what they do. I don't necessarily like everything about how they do it, but it's good. Kiki and Rob gifted a membership. Thank you so much. That one went to Tommy143. Congratulations, Tommy, and thank you, Kiki and Rob. You guys are great. Okay, just over an hour into Verdict Watch now. And the light has not come on as of yet. I will say what I don't like about watching court is when the channel we're watching constantly interrupts with either commercials or talking heads during interesting parts. I don't see myself as super interesting. Usually what's happening is more interesting than that. I do have to provide commentary on a case. I can't just sit there and let it play all day long and not say anything, or else I'd be in danger of some copyright strikes for using material and not through a fair use means. Let's see. Multiple news outlets. Greeners, great news here, or great update. Multiple local news outlets are reporting police will announce charges against Carly Russell this afternoon. Carly Russell is the woman who claimed she saw a baby on the side of the road and then was abducted. Turns out there was no baby and there was no abduction. Selena, thank you. I'm just glad you're here now. It's awesome. Wonderful to have you here. Awesome SF in Texas. Appreciate that. Yeah, I have not, I think there might be one time I accidentally clicked the button that injected an ad into my live stream. But other than that, I try to put the ads as minimally invasive as possible. I try to keep them all skippable at the very beginning, and that's it. All right. Still no light, an hour in. I think lunch would be over at this point, so there's definitely deliberation going on. The jury does have to elect their own foreman during this time. Oh, I forgot to close the poll. Speaking of that, speaking of the poll, let's do that now. The jury poll being closed. This was the question was, how long will the jury deliberate? 2 to 4 hours. 54% of us think 2 to 4 hours, which is good. Less than 2 hours, only 19% are hopeful that the next 53 minutes are productive. 1 day, 17%, and book your hotel rooms was 9%. So we're looking at a quick verdict, according to us. Okay. I watched the DB court on Court TV, but couldn't do chat. This chat is amazing and nice. Thank you, Bella. It wouldn't be the same without you. Honestly, I say that to everyone, but it is you that make this community what it is. So thank you. I will say this: if you don't like ads during a live trial, YouTube Premium is wonderful. It gets rid of the ads. It is a little bit spendy. It's I think triple or quadruple what it costs for a membership a month here on my channel. But if it's something you're interested in doing, I think I could refer you to it, and it would benefit the channel and you. I would give me a kickback. Buffer. Look at this. We have Sunny Florida Mom. Sunny Florida Mom. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Click. There it is. Happy birthday to Sunny Florida Mom. If you do have a birthday, you have to out yourself. There you are. Happy birthday, Sunny Florida Mom. I'm not going to sing this far into the live stream. My voice would not be able to hold the tune as early as first thing in the morning. But I hope you have a fabulous birthday. I realize that there are many places you could be on your special day, and for you to be here with us is an honor. Thank you. There's a lawsuit. We need official verdict watch background music. We have some greeners for when the verdict comes in, which is a little hype you up music. There we go. Happy birthday, Sunny Florida Mom. Let's see. Remote, so no cake, sadly. We're going to all have to make our own cake or cupcakes and eat it individually. All right. Good morning, Cruiser Chris. Good to have you here. Put me into 2 to 4, please. All right, that's the majority by far, over 50% now. Okay, here's what we can do. I think we're going to go to lunch because the jury, if they haven't already eaten lunch, they're eating now. They usually get about 45 minutes. The benefit here is if you don't want to just sit here and stare at the wall like we're doing here. I mean, I could pull this up instead, and we could put the button over there. Let's see. Does that work? Now you can see the button and and this, so it's a little bit better view. Bay Hogan, my birthday's tomorrow. Happy birthday tomorrow. Happy Birthday song is fair use. That particular rendition of Happy Birthday is in the YouTube library, audio library, where I can use it without risk of copyright strike. So they can't for that one. It used to be an issue, but it's not anymore. It's now in the public domain. Let's see. No car chase that I know of right now, but I haven't looked either. So I think it's time, since I have not eaten breakfast and I'm still sitting here looking at the breakfast that Mrs. R.A. brought me. I have not opened anything. I think we should take some time. If you don't want to pop back in and enjoy the friendly camaraderie and random discussions we have here on the channel, we'll miss you, first of all. But I will go live again after lunch. Let's see if we give us, it's 12:30 now. Can we do an hour lunch? An hour lunch? Yes, of course we're going to do ice cream. Cachette, what do you think? What would you eat? What would anyone, the average person would eat for lunch would be ice cream if it was an option, right? So we're going to get some food. I'm like shaky. I'm so hungry. Here's what you can do. Matthew Harris, thank you for prompting this. If you can, click this little channel. Go over on Matthew Harris's channel and watch his latest video. It's a short. The near miss short was great. People might want to see it. I'll have to look. I'm not set up to show it right now. It's a little tricky because of the problems I'm having with my feedback. Right now I cannot hear what's happening in court when I can hear myself. So it's rough. This is the door just opens. People are going in and out. That's why the screen changes like that. Okay. Requesting you show Buttercup's photos so they know who steals my keyboard. I think Buttercup's about to steal a chicken if you're not careful. How do you get the sound right? Other channels I can barely hear. I come to your channel, I can hear. Debbie, I have what's called a Fairlight audio mixer, which is a very advanced audio board, even though it's a physical board, it's a virtual board inside my physical switcher. And it allows me to run a compressor, which brings the quiet sounds up. It allows me to put some filtering, bandpass filters, to put equalizers on, to change the sound so that if there's a sound that's present that's not good, that we don't want to hear, maybe a buzz, maybe like a really low vibration, like today in the courtroom, there's the microphone that's picking up just a rumble, and I just tune that out so we can just focus on the audio. So it's just some audio skills that I've learned over the years that try to make it a little bit better. Let's see. It's adept at AV wizardry. That's how he does it. Yes, and I have all the cables. Although I am a little bit disappointed because the problem I'm having with audio right now is in this piece of hardware. I can isolate it to that piece of hardware. And it's a very crucial piece of hardware that is not user modifiable internally. So I'd hate to have to buy another one because they're like $1,200. But your luck is right when you sign off, the verdict comes in. That's usually what happens, True Crime Junkie. I'm actually trying to encourage the verdict by taking a break for lunch. That way we can get this over with and get the resolution we're all waiting for. Let's see. I think we're good. Let's go ahead and wrap this up because food is calling and it cannot wait much longer. Here we go. The fan is keeping everything cool, so we're good. Hey, little RA, how you doing? Cheese stick for lunch? Yum! Looks good. He's like, I'm so full. All right, thank you everyone very much for being here. This has been a fantastic morning. I love having all of you here. Especially the 13th jurors who joined us. Thank you, Brandy Churchwell, for that. Amazing YouTuber. Love her. She does a great job. I'm also a 13th juror. I'm a member of her channel. Do support that. Thank you for being here. I realize there's many places you can be, and I appreciate you spend your time here. I do think this is the best place on YouTube to watch true crime, and it is because of you. So tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and be safe till we go live again, which will be in about an hour as we have some lunch, and then return with our verdict watch as, I guess, part 2 of verdict watch today, as it started a little bit early. This one went quickly. It'll be a 1-week case, I think. I think we can have it all wrapped up before the weekend, barring the penalty phase. So we'll have to figure out what the schedule is for the penalty phase on this one. Not sure if it's going to start immediately in the afternoon if there's a verdict, say at lunch. But we'll find out. Somebody needs to dust off that button. It looks like there's a little bit of dust that's collected there. I'm watching on full screen, and now I can't watch it full screen. It's triggering my OCD. Just dust it off. A little hanky over at the top of that would be good. You guys are awesome. Thanks to my wonderful mods who make everything wonderful here and help everything flow smoothly in chat. I appreciate every single one of you. What you do, I could not do without you. Thank you. Have a great lunch. We'll see you after it. See you. Bye.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.